Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to another Supatease video. And in this one, I'm going to be breaking down my Fury Warrior gameplay in the 2 versus 2 bracket so that you can take this and apply it to your own gameplay. I am very close to cusping over 2,400 rating in 2v2 this season on Fury Warrior. Been a while since I picked it up. In this specific match, we are fighting an assassination rogue, and I opted to run with both Stormbolt and Disarm. This is to protect my Restoration Shaman. I do recommend saving your Disarm against assassination rogues very specifically for Vendetta and only disarming Vendetta, because assassination rogues have abilities that interact to reduce the cooldown of it, and you don't want to be caught with your pants down and not have disarm for it because you will disappear. Your stun is a little bit more flexible, your fear is a little bit more flexible in this specific matchup between offense and defense, but it is disarm that I do recommend leaving as your fail safe, your kind of silver bullet to survive that attack from the assassination rogue. There are going to be periods of time where you will want to use your heroic leap defensively, and this is going to be when you are disarmed yourself by the dismantle of the assassination rogue. There's no point going toe to toe with them, and you will see that in this specific video. Right at the start of the game, you do want to try and grab combat so that your shaman doesn't get sapped, but unfortunately I do get sapped here, so I'm watching my shaman. I see fleshcraft being channeled, unlikely that the rogue wants to open into immunity on crowd control, so I'm just going to hold my berserker rage for now. My attempt is to berserker rage intervene if they open shaman. Otherwise, I'm just going to be patient until they've decided what target they want to commit to. Right at the start of the game, it's the highest amount of damage if the enemy is running with an earth elemental legendary with the resto shaman healer, so you do want to be very careful and protect your shaman at the start of the game, or be worried about protecting yourself. Get ready to stormbolt, disarm, and fear defensively in the opening stages, because this is when the highest potential damage is the easiest to organize, because later on they're going to have to start lining their cooldowns up, or their earth elemental will have faded. So here I've got a Deathmaker proc, so I decide to stun the rogue. That's going to boost my damage a lot, and I decide to pop my cooldowns, trinket their disarm, and get aggressive. I do recommend using your medallion during your Conqueror's banner, because it is very important to get damage out during this cooldown. Here I overlap crowd control, not a good idea. Do not fear and hex the shaman at the same time. I was playing no voice with LFG, and I think in that global I just didn't notice it, but you do not want to overlap crowd control. You want to use your enraged regen here on Vendetta to survive it. We do overlap a bit with Spirit Link, but it's not bad to over respond to the first round of cooldowns and then disarm the Vendetta immediately afterwards. I use Piercing Howl while the rogue is trying to retreat from me to really get the heavy snare so that I can stay on target with my cooldowns as they have just faded now. And both teams have survived that opening stage. When facing an assassination rogue, you are really only going to die in those Vendetta windows, specifically Vendetta Sepsis, when fighting a Night Fae rogue. So you just need to be ready for those. As soon as that is over, you're going to trade way more effectively with the assassination rogue. You just want to stay on target, maximize your damage, and try and maintain your slaughterhouse stacks, which actually at this moment I just ironically dropped. You want to keep that at 8 stacks as much as possible. Here we're caught in a smoke bomb, but there's no Vendetta, so it's not going to be particularly as scary. My shaman is able to stay close to me to be able to run into the smoke bomb and connect big area of effect heals with the Ascendants. Good idea for your healer to split up their cooldowns like this. You're not using the Spirit Link Ascendants at the same time unless it's absolutely necessary, so that you can extend it for moments like that. Here you can see the shaman casting Hex, and I am currently disarmed. So while disarmed like this, if you're taking a lot of damage, it is a good idea to use your heroic leap to get away. You can do something like heroic leap and then use fleshcraft and get an absorb shield up while you're disarmed and avoid damage while you're not really able to attack back. I didn't do that in this instance, but it is a good strategy that I think I do later on in the game. Here we get a proc recklessness. We really need to focus on keeping our slaughterhouse up here at 8 stacks, and we do get kidney shots. Now my shaman isn't crowd controlled, so I'm not particularly worried about a kidney shot where my shaman isn't CC'd, and we're able to drop Earthen Wall. So now in this position, I throw Stormbolt over onto the Restoration Shaman, and you can do this when the enemy healer has no cooldown. You can Stormbolt enemy healer into full Hex, and then go after the Assassination Rogue. This increases the likelihood that you're going to kill that damage dealer outside of your cooldown window, because the healer is just not going to be able to heal, and it can be a scary moment and also protect your healer from any crowd control they decide to lob in. So we do become very close to getting a kill off that, but with the Shadow Step escape, it buys the rogue just enough time to get faint and make themselves a lot more durable. Now on Tuesday, our Raging Blow and Crushing Blow are always going to activate Battle Trance, which is going to be a huge quality of life improvement for Fury Warrior. But we managed to pull a Spirit Link basically off of nothing here. We have our Conqueror's banner coming up in about 30 seconds. And like I said, you do, at least for myself, when I was playing, the most success was to line my medallion up with that, wait for a stun, and then you know you're going to get disarmed to your cooldowns, so trinket out of the disarm. If the rogue ends up kiting too far away from you, don't be afraid to just attack the healer. Just maximize your damage if you're not really able to connect. Here I use Piercing Howl and I kite with the Earth Grab Totem and go for a Fleshcraft. I think that the best time to go for a re-Fleshcraft is during that time you are dismantled or disarmed as a warrior, because you can't do anything else. And we're going to get right back on target. We've procced a Deathmaker, so we could throw a stun onto the rogue. Really like Stormbolting. We can see the Deathmaker with this little orange icon that increases my damage by 15% on the target. So stunning that target to make sure that I get damage is going to be a good idea during that window. And I decided to go for the Recklessness as well, lining those two cooldowns up to get a really increased modify of damage. But now Vendetta, we're going to use Enraged Regen, and as soon as possible we want to disarm the rogue, like I said, but we also do use Fear because the Shaman is stacked, so we can get a Fear on the Shaman, disarm the rogue with no trinket, and we're able to stop them from connecting. And with the full Fear, we really want to chase in, go for the kill. We're proccing our Deathmaker. We're going to have a lot of damage here. Unfortunately, evasion is up, so all of our attacks are going to be dodged. I'm trying to rotate my character and get behind the rogue, but when I can't attack during evasion or disarm, you can also then use Piercing Howl to avoid the rogue and kite away from the rogue. So I use Intervene here, trying to anticipate a blind, but also because I can't attack the rogue, so little kind of like predictive move here in case he tries to get aggressive. I see the Shaman casting a Hex, but my Shaman then grounds it. We end up going for a Stormbolt right at the same time we get stunned, but I'm going to use my Conqueror's banner, and I'm going to use my medallion paired up with when I'm crowd controlled during it. We do ultimately get disarmed though if you don't wait till the second crowd control, and this is where I recommend using Heroic Leap, is going to be during these moments where you're disarmed and you can't Bloodthirst anymore. Your Battle Trance might be falling off because you can't Raging Blow, and those are the best times to run away. But you don't want to run away for too long because you're going to lose your stacks of the Frenzy talent, which I currently now have at 4, which is every time you rampage. You want to really try and keep that up as much as possible for the maximum amount of damage output. But here I can see the Shaman casting Hex, so I reposition to pummel, end up overlapping kicks. Again, that's going to be a consequence of not playing in voice chat, but we end up getting a Hex on the Shaman, which gets the Shaman to trinket, which means later on, if we have our Fear and our Hex combo, we can win. That's the main win condition, is a full Fear into a full Hex while the rogue is stunned. And now here I've used Disarm, but it is outside of the Vendetta window. Things can get very risky if you use your Disarm outside of the Vendetta window, and I think that's why I'm saying this in the post-game analysis, is that I may have regretted this choice, because if it comes off cooldown from being reset before you get it, it will bite you, come back to bite you. So you need to be very careful with when you use your disarm. It's kind of your fail-safe to survive against a lot of melee attackers like Fury Warriors or Assassination Rogues. I recommend disarming their cooldowns and saving it for those moments. Here we get Kidney Shot, and here's the Vendetta, and guess what? We don't have a disarm because we used it prior to this moment, so we don't have a Spirit Link. It's almost a complete miracle that we survive here. I believe that I end up intervening the Shaman on a potential blind here, which is the only reason that we end up staying alive. Although my Shaman could have just trinketed it, I decided to kind of just intervene the Shaman, predicting that there might be some crowd control while I'm low health and Vendetta is rolling, and we managed to redirect the blind to ourselves. We get disarmed here, so while disarmed, using your Earth Grab Totem like this, moving away from the rogue while you're disarmed, try and kill cap totems when you can, and avoid crowd control because you can't get any pressure out during them. Then as soon as the disarm is over, charge right back in to the fight and get your damage going. As I've popped Recklessness here, we're going to get Kidney Shot on it. It's going to get a bit frustrating, but not as frustrating as it apparently is for the rogue, as we were able to pre-intervene the blind. Trying to predict Kidney Shot with Blade Storm is also another maneuver, or predict a disarm with Blade Storm. You can sometimes immune that crowd control and then you don't have to use your medallion. I recommend that. If you're in a position where you're low on defensive cooldowns, it's better to try and pre-Blade Storm a Kidney defensively rather than pre-Blade Storming to protect your cooldowns. Also, using Reflect right before you pop your cooldowns is a good time to do it as well. Here we're setting up the full Fear onto the Shaman. This is where your main win condition is when the Shaman has no trinket or the enemy healer has no trinket. You can get a full Fear into a full Hex, but I don't think my Shaman, actually my Shaman did go for it. We leap away though and try and go for a Fleshcraft because we're still in trouble. Dampening is quite high at this point. mana is really low, this is where you're really going to have a tough decision to make. And it's very important to just maximize your damage output at this point. We have a Blade Storm, so we can pre-Blade Storm a kidney shot. We can potentially pre-intervene any crowd control over onto our Shaman as well. As soon as the rogue gets away, though, we need to keep doing damage to something this deep into dampening. We need to keep pressuring the Shaman to use mana to try and even that out. So we're going to attack the Shaman, and we're just anticipating the next kidney shot, which is going to be coming from stealth, which will be really tough. Good idea to kill Healing Tide totems when you can, but the rogue is going to intercept us with a kidney shot. And I mean, I could have guessed that he would protect the Healing Tide totem and Blade Storm there, but it would have again been a guess. I think it's better maybe to try and predict a pre-Blade Storm when the enemy is not invisible. Although if you absolutely need to, you definitely should. And here I use a stun onto the Resto Shaman, and I actually end up going after the Resto Shaman because the rogue is so focused on defense. We get a Deathmaker. I could pop Conch Banner here, and I think I end up popping Conch Banner, and I Blade Storm. And this Blade Storm is to protect myself during the kidney shot, to which I think I did immune due to the fact that the rogue has activated Vendetta. We get disarmed. Using your trinket during the Vendetta window is highly recommended by me at the moment here for getting pressure out as a Fury Warrior. With how many rogues and how many hunter teams there are, you need to be connecting with this cooldown, but the rogue is lining up their evasion with it as well. So I'm just kiting the rogue with Piercing Howl during evasion. You can do this with disarm as well. I've said it throughout the video. And we get a hex on the Shaman. So as soon as that evasion is down with the full hex, we're going to go right back on the rogue, disarm the rogue so that they can't kidney us during the hex, because we really need to be winning the game here soon. We're running low on cooldowns, and they end up just leaving the game, which I was very surprised to see. I don't know if this is because of the pre-Blade Storm or the pre-intervene, or if there's some rage going on between the two of them, but they end up leaving the game right at that moment, and I was very surprised when it happened. But at that point, it was still looking pretty tight for either side to be able to pull off the win. I think that myself personally, analyzing this game, is to try and Blade Storm more to immune stuns, whether it's offensively or defensively, but that's dependent on if you're ahead on trinkets or if you're behind on your medallions, whether you should be allocating it that way. Either way, I hope that you got some useful information out of this video. I did do my best to provide as much insight as I could, and if you did, make sure to subscribe to the channel and thumbs up the video. I would appreciate it. And if you want to stay up to date with any changes that are coming to World of Warcraft and stay ahead of the competition, this is a great resource for that, which clicking the subscribe button will just enable you to do. So aside from that, thank you very much for watching the video, and I will catch you in the next one.